Now we're live.
Yay!
There you are. Here, let me switch to
Are we
this.
both there?
Awesome. I think we are. Happy
Yay!
Friday, everyone. Let me just double check and make sure we're both there.
I'll look on my computer too.
It's always a tricky startup here.
Oh, I see us.
Oh, good. Yay.
Okay, let me share it into my group too. Go for it. Keep talking.
All right. Happy Friday, everyone. It's Sarah here with Real Marketing Solutions and my special guest this week, Natalie Eckdahl. Natalie, thank you for being here on our live show, Getting Social with Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. I am so thrilled to be here, and this is going to be fun. I'm really excited about some of the things that we're going to talk about.
I know. I'm so excited. So for those of you in my following that may not know Natalie, Natalie is the founder of Biz Chicks. You can check her out. I've included all of the links to connect with Natalie in the text of this post. I am part of one of her masterminds this year, and I met Natalie about a year ago, almost to date. We just celebrated our year anniversary at BAM, the BAM Success Summit. And I attended Natalie's live event, which is actually happening again this November. Many of you that are following my page have actually asked about that event and are looking forward to attending it this year. So just so you know, there's only 7 tickets left to the live event. Is that correct?
It's correct.
7 tickets. So I've included the link. If you're interested in attending Natalie's live event this year, the link is also in the text. You should definitely check it out. I will have to say that it was one of the pivotal shifts in my business last year, attending that event, connecting with these amazing women. I've actually was flabbergasted by the amount of coolness in that room. And it was awesome. So if you're looking for an escape to sunny California and to work on your business and meet and connect with other brilliant ladies, please join me. I'll be there. And Natalie will obviously be there. So
I will be there.
We're good.
I'll be there. And it is really amazing. My mom always told me that I attracted really great friends. It's like something I've always done. And somehow that's permeated into the community I'm attracting. Wow. Like literally on stage, I was jealous of you guys. Like I wanted to be out and about mingling and like at a table because the ladies in the audience were so amazing. And as an introvert, I have to conserve my energy at the event so that I can do my job that I'm supposed to be doing there. But I literally, like a few times I was like, I kind of wish I was like trade places with someone right now.
Yeah. So, I actually went home exhausted because it was, and I'm an extrovert. So I'm like, I can handle that and I feed off of it. But when I am done, I was exhausted, but I was so filled up and so excited to come home and start implementing stuff in my business. So really people, this is like an amazing event. It's for women entrepreneurs. And if you are one of them and are ready really to step your business up and take it to the next level, I want to invite you to join us. And then I want to just allow you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business. Your stories are always amazing of how you got started and where you're at today. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, where I am today is I have a business that is really based off of my podcast. My podcast, the Biz Chicks podcast, is the top of my funnel. That's how people find me. That's where I direct people to. Like Sarah, if you wanted to refer me a client right now that didn't know me, I would say, have her go listen to my podcast, see if she connects with me. And then on the podcast, I really share what you should do next, like how to connect with me further and how to get involved in the community. I have a Facebook group that's part of my community as well that has over 2,000 women in it that are actually, majority of them are actual listeners of my podcast. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then I host masterminds for women entrepreneurs at different levels of business. So at the 5-figure level, at the 6-figure level, and for multi-6-figure and 7-figure entrepreneurs. And that is my joy. That is my passion, is impacting women, helping them connect deeper. But it didn't start out this way. And this isn't actually the business I started out trying to create. So I had another business with my husband. We had a software business. And this is going back to like 2010 and the few years after that. And I was trying to learn about social media because it was really brand new to me. I grew up in traditional marketing. And social media marketing was completely different and really starting to get established. Like it was, it was a newer thing. People were transitioning from like Google ads to Facebook ads at the time. And we were trying to wrap our minds around how we were going to get customers for our software business and attract a following on social media. So I started listening to podcasts and trying to learn about what's the latest, because books and audiobooks are usually delayed, like by, a year or two. They're written long before they're published. So I needed real-time information, and I found podcasts. And I became obsessed. I love audio content. I love learning on the go. I love multitasking and doing something around the house or working out and learning at the same time. What I saw was a gap. There were incredible podcasters giving incredible information, but when women were featured, which was not very often, they were not asking them the questions I wanted answered. So I was raised to believe that I can do anything I set my mind to. And so I decided I would fill the gap and I would launch a podcast. And I wanted to do it for two reasons. One, I wanted to interview women entrepreneurs to tell their story and to learn from them. One of my main goals was to figure out how to have work-life balance. I've since learned, after interviewing hundreds of women, that that's not possible, that we achieve balance in a different way. Like 1 week might be balanced, 1 week might not. One season might be balanced, one season might not be. So I learned that. That was definitely a learning. And I thought I was going to build a business around sponsorship. I thought I'd create this podcast, I would build it, and all these women, thousands, tens of thousands of women would come.
Yeah.
And listen. And then sponsors would be like, oh my gosh, you have tens of thousands of women listening. May we give you money to sponsor on your show? So that didn't happen. It was hundreds. Hundreds came to listen, a few hundred, very few hundred. And some of them were family and friends, right? So it grew very slowly. It did not become a business in the first year. In the first year, I know exactly how much I made in the business because it was a big whopping zero.
Yeah.
Nothing. I did have a baby that year, though. I will say, I was growing a baby, started January 2014. I was growing a baby. I have two other children. And so I did accomplish something major in that year. But as in terms of monetizing BizChicks, it didn't happen. So that's kind of a little bit now and going back in time. That's what's happening. That's what happened. And that's where we are now.
And that's a refreshing story, because I think I know on year 4 of business, which I'm doing this year, your first year of business, you're always kind of, I want to get there. I want to get there. I want to get there. But there's so much work that goes into year 1 and year 2. I didn't have the budget to hire. So I had to learn everything I didn't know. I knew a lot, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. And I felt like I spent my year in the trenches. But now looking back on that, I can do everything in my business that, if someone were to leave as an employee or something like that, I can do everything in my business that they do for me. So it's one of those things, it's a growing pain, but every business starts somewhere. And it's so refreshing to hear that even businesses that are extremely successful start somewhere, right? So super happy that you shared that story with us. Now let's dive into social media and let's talk about my first question is how you use social media in your business, because I know you facilitate groups. Obviously I'm part of them. But just really tell us how you use it, how you decided to use it in your business, and kind of how you facilitate your business with social media.
Okay. And it's evolved in the last 4.5 years for sure. In the past, Twitter was a big part of how I connected with new listeners and how I talk to people. And now I'm almost not using Twitter at all. I'm really checking it once a week to see if maybe someone messaged me. Right. It is how I've connected with media. So I do think that media is still there, but it's not where I'm spending a lot of time. So in terms of social media, the most important social media channel for me is Facebook. And in terms of Facebook, it's Facebook groups.
Right.
So groups are how I connect deeper with my community at large, and then with clients through a membership site I host it's called The Nest. And then also each mastermind has their own private Facebook group where people can go deep with each other and ask those more private questions that maybe you only want your mastermind sisters to know what's going on.
Right.
So groups are hugely hugely important to my business. And there's a large link in terms of my Facebook group. It's called the Biz Chicks Coop. Between that and my podcast, like I say, I podcast for the women in that group. Right. I am always listening to what's happening in there. I'm a huge participant as well. I now have a community manager helping and other team members that are in there as well as me, but I'm literally in there almost every day. And I may not always post or comment, but I am listening, and that the discussions in there inform what I podcast about. Mm-hmm. And occasionally I'll literally have a post and we'll turn it into a podcast episode. Mm-hmm. Or I'll see, recently I did an honor coaching call with someone. She was really struggling with money mindset. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot, I got to help her. Yeah. So I brought her on to do an honor coaching call. So it's really been amazing, the dynamic that has happened. For me, the kind of triad in my business is the podcast, my Facebook group, and my email list, and the connection between those. So I want the content to be related in those three spaces. And if you're listening to the podcast, I really want you in the Facebook group. And the way to get admitted to the Facebook group is to be on my email list. Now, of course, you can leave it. But we're constantly trying to grow those three things, but really, and for their numbers to be similar. Mm-hmm. So we're wanting them to be similar. They're usually, a few thousand apart here and there. But we're trying to grow that triad.
And that is your sales funnel right there.
It is
the majority of your funnel. So when we talk about funnels and social media, everybody's funnel is going to look a little bit different. And the way Natalie has structured her funnel is the podcast is the top, and then you move into the group, and then you move into a paid group, and then you move into, if you're seeing that, everybody's funnel is going to be different. Not everybody's going to be a podcaster, but there's still a way that you can facilitate a business and a funnel through social media, which is exactly what she's doing. And the community that you've built is incredible. How many women do you have in the Coop right now, which is your free group?
I think it's just over 2,000. I think it's like 2,200. Yeah. And there's other people that started at the same time as me, with their group. My group I launched in November of 2014. And initially it was just me talking, right? Mm-hmm. It was just me talking. I would post a thing and I would comment on it. I would post something and I would comment on it. And then someone else would comment. That was exciting. Yeah. And then I literally remember the first day someone posted without me posting. Like they created their own first post. Yeah. Now that happens constantly in my group, right?
Right.
That's different. So I think you have to think about how mature a group is. I know a lot of my clients start groups and they're like, I have 300 people in there, but nothing's happening. But yeah, now I forgot your initial question. I'm sorry. I got so excited talking about it.
Just your business and how you facilitated it. And this is a good point for those of you out there that are looking to do paid groups on Facebook. Paid groups are a hustle to fill. I mean, when you're starting out your business, and this is your paid plan, it's a hustle. I know a lot of businesses that do it really successfully, and myself, I have a paid group and it's been slow growing, and it continues to grow, but it's been a very slow growing thing. What I really value about what Natalie did is she has a free group, which is the start of her funnel. And then she goes into the paid group. So they've already received value from her, and not everybody's going to move into the paid group, mm-hmm. but that is the start of her funnel. They get enough taste of Natalie and what they could have in the paid platform, and then they can convert over to the paid platform. So for those of you out there that are really figuring out how to run a Facebook group for your business, or struggling with how do I get a paid group going, your option might be to start a free group first. And start nurturing that as your funnel. So that is really impressive to me of how you've done that. And I've watched you in my own business. This is really hard, this group coaching, and getting people into your group for a fee that's not free, right?
It is.
It's a struggle.
And a lot of people want to, that if they're launching right now, you have to really look at what's working right now, not what worked for me 4.5 years ago, right. And literally not even what worked for anybody a year ago. Things, especially on Facebook, are changing so quickly. And even in podcasting, people are launching podcasts constantly. When I started, I could not find a podcast for women entrepreneurs specifically. I looked, I searched.
A lot.
Now there's tons. So if you are launching anything right now, you really have to niche down. And so if I was launching a Facebook group today, I couldn't just launch one for general women entrepreneurs. It would
Right.
have to be something very specific to an industry niche, to a topic niche. And if I was to launch, if say I was starting out right now and I wanted to launch a podcast or have a group program or do have a Facebook, live show or a YouTube channel, I would launch a Facebook group for that niche first and grow it and grow an audience first. So then I can then I can get them to buy into what I'm doing. Like if I was launching a podcast, I've got to find podcast art. I've got to do an intro, outro. I've got to do music. Hey, I could create commentary about it. I could show people, which do you think I should pick?
Right.
What are you thinking about this? I could find guests in the community. And that is very different from how things were when I launched. So I think creating community first now is so important. And also knowing that everybody that's in your community and everybody on your email list, most of them are never going to buy from you. It's
right.
like 5 to 10% if you're lucky. So people will have an email list of say 100, 500 or 1,000 people and think that half of them, 3/4 of them are going to buy from them. They're just not. Think about your own behavior. How many emails are you getting from people? How many Facebook groups are you in? How many people's content are you consuming that you have never paid money to? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I in our Facebook group, I know that the majority of these people will never buy anything from me. And I'm okay with that. I just really love serving and impacting people and impacting women entrepreneurs in particular. But I think when I work with clients that are starting something or launching something, a lot of times then they don't understand the true numbers of conversions that in general, most email lists, 1% convert to sales at any time you're selling something. So you have to really do those numbers out to see if it's worth it for you, to see, should I launch this thing if I'm going to make most statistically $500, $1,000, whatever, you have to do the numbers, multiply by what you're charging. But we see all these things about 6-figure launches and we don't always know what are the numbers behind it. Oh, they actually have an email list of 100,000 people or 50,000 people or 10,000 people. We don't know people's behind the scenes numbers. We also don't know how much they paid to build that list, how many ads they ran, how much they paid per lead. We don't know those things. So I love when people share those behind the scenes because it's so helpful for everyone's expectations. But yeah, it's really fun to work with people that are hosting groups because creating community is really powerful. It draws people to you. And then as you said, having a live event, it really connected the community on a deeper level than I ever could have imagined. I thought, oh, this is going to be great. People are going to get to meet in person. It has transformed my business, hosting a live event.
And the momentum that you receive. You said something really important there too, of how Facebook has changed. And now if you're getting into the business of trying to create groups at this point and what it was like 4 years ago, it was a lot different. In fact, when Facebook first launched, businesses were actually run as group pages. That's how they started a business page. So the evolution of where we're at now with Facebook makes it really important to have a strategy. It's incredibly hard to just jump on there and make money running a group. So I absolutely love what you shared. You got to figure out what's going to work for you right now with what things are doing right now. And it may not be a Facebook group, maybe something different.
And to also realize I don't own Facebook. They're letting me use their Facebook group setup for free. They can take that down at any time. It's their business. I'm not paying for their platform. They also have the right to run, and they are testing this in some countries, running ads into Facebook groups. So as a marketer, that will be cool. If I could run ads into someone else's group that has my exact ideal client. As a group owner, not so loving that. Yeah. But what am I going to do? So I have to have another way of contacting people. Also, what if Facebook goes away? Do I have a way to connect with my community? That's why it's been really important for me to get people onto my email list, not just to have everything run off of this one platform and have no control of how I connect with them in the future. So it's really, I think you have to be strategic about doing things to get people on your list. If I was first starting out, I want to go back because I know a lot of people are just starting out with a group. I wouldn't require someone to be on my list to be in the group because the goal is to build community. I need to build community first, and then later we'll figure out some lead magnets or things that we can do to get them onto the list. But to just if you're just starting out, you just got to get to that first, 100, 300, 500 people that you can, communicate with. I find when groups get to about a 500, you really start to get the interactions and traction that you need to not be the only one creating conversation.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. We're creating community, relationship building, which we talk about in pretty much every tip that I put out. It's all about building relationships because people don't buy off of one ad. They don't buy off of, typically speaking, they don't buy off of not knowing you and needing something. They buy off of getting to know you. There's so many ads running right now and so many different initiatives by just so many different companies that have a ton of money that they're spending at this. When you don't have that as a small business owner, your biggest value is going to come in creating relationships and a community in which you are attracting people that need your services. So that's super important. And thank you for sharing that. I have another question for you. At what was the tipping point for your business on social media? Do you remember like that shift when things started to change? I know the podcast, took a little bit of time. And then when did you start seeing this community grow? What was your tipping point for that?
There's a few like moments in time of things that happen that help me see, wow, like this is really, I'm creating something like that is now outside of me and not just driven by me. And that was when people started connecting outside of the group. So I do the best post to do for any group, in my opinion, is to do a post that is, where do you live? And by doing that, I run that in my group. I run that like every 8 weeks or so. Where are you from? Where do you live? Where are you right now? It allows people to connect by location. And so the kind of a tipping point moment for me was some people deciding to meet in person on their own outside of my group because they were biz chicks together.
Yes.
And so people identifying as biz chicks was really transformational. And something that has helped deepen my community, and I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but is by people being in masterminds together, they have gotten deeper connected. And so now they're in the community, but they have a deep connection. And now I'm building that in different ways now, right? Now I have a live event that has that. I've hosted one-day masterminds. We did one, you helped as you were one of our experts at that just a few weeks ago in Seattle. We did a one-day mastermind. Those people now have a really deep connection. So when questions come up in the group, I'm not the only one tagging people like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. Oh, you should talk to so-and-so. There are women in my community that have very deep understandings of each other's businesses, and they will tag each other and they will say, oh, you should talk to her. She's had this experience. She launched that thing. Oh, so-and-so's an expert in this area. They have that specialty. So I really think the tipping point has come in several ways. And it's not like I can be like, on this date, blah, blah, blah happened. It's been several like key moments and events over time that have just amazed me. Yeah. And that's awesome. Those. Yeah. And I think I love when people can connect and connect deeper. We also have really protected the culture of the group. So my group has a very specific culture. And last fall, we removed the ability to promote your own business. So I used to have a post, you probably see it in a lot of groups, promote your day. We used to be Tuesdays, promote yourself Tuesday. Well, what was happening was a lot of people were just coming in that day, posting a link and leaving. They were not community members. And around that time, there were several large groups that shut down as well. I don't remember, there was like groups of like 10,000 entrepreneurs, 50,000. And the group owners, it became too much for them to manage. And the groups had gotten a culture that didn't reflect the group owner. Or for whatever reason, they just decided it didn't help their business. They shut them down. And so at that time, I really evaluated my group. And I would say this was a tipping point as well. I just decided we're not allowing self-promotion. You can only share a link about your business when you're brand new. So you get a little special exposure when you're brand new. And it's an encouragement to get people engaging early. Once someone engages once, they're more likely to keep participating and engaging. So we give them that special privilege and we tell them, this is a special privilege. You should take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And and so that has really also changed the culture. And I think made people feel really safe in the group, that the people in the group engaging are there because they want to be, not just because they're trying to get something out of the group. Now, I'm not saying you can't sell in other people's groups and get business from other people's groups. So there's ways to do it, which I think you're very good at doing. And you've taught Sarah how to be a participant in a group where people get curious about you and ask you for help versus you having
value to get that back.
Yes.
So if someone
people
has a question,
get business in my group every day, and I'm happy for them.
Yes.
I'm happy for them, but they do it in the right way. Someone asks a social media question, you might answer it. They may then say, hey, could I DM you?
Yep.
Like, or you might just post. That's another reason to have a library of content. If someone asks a question and the group allows it, you could say, hey, here's a free article. Here's a podcast episode I did. If someone posts their free content in response to a question someone else asks, I'm cool with that. But you have to really watch your intention in group, because as a group owners and admins, we see it. I want to just share one thing that is annoying as a group owner.
Yeah.
We see people ask questions that are self-serving. Like they will ask, it would be like if you posted a question about, I'm wondering what you guys think about the changes in Facebook. And it's really a vehicle for you to answer them and show your expertise. We delete those because I'm sorry, that's not what our group is for. But you have to wait. You just have to be part of the group and you have to engage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your live event. And we didn't talk about this beforehand. So you can tell me if you want to talk about it or not.
Do it.
I noticed that your live event promotion this year was pretty organic.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't think if you spent ad dollars, probably not a ton.
Maybe we've spent $100 in ads.
Yeah.
It really hasn't been about the event as much. We did have an event video and we did throw a little bit of money on it, maybe $300. But what was amazing. So we had 65 women attend last year's event. I felt like we got the social media of 300 attendees.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you notice that?
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm going with this, is that
it was amazing.
You're watching. And I want to say this about her masterminds as well, because she has created this community and these groups of people that connect. If you'll notice, if you've watched my Real Marketing Solutions or my personal page and anyone in those masterminds, we are always tagging where we're at and taking pictures together. And that alone is a promotion.
It is. And I want to share. So everything I do is very strategic. So I'm a really nice person, but I'm also very strategic and I love business and I'm a hard-nosed business person. So I chose to make a hashtag that was not shortened. It wasn't BCL 2017. It was hashtag BizChicksLive. Because I want you to Google that and try to figure out what that is and where people are at. Not have to go what is BCL 2017? Yeah. What is BCL 2018? We're not going to do that. Every year, it's just going to be hashtag BizChicksLive. That is on purpose. I never shorten externally. I will never say BCL. Internally, we may say that, but externally, we always say BizChicksLive. We spell it out. And I happen to have a lot of online entrepreneurs and people that are on social media a lot in my community. So that was a benefit. But I've watched other events and maybe you can understand how this happens there, because I have not been fully able to understand it. I watched other events that have a lot more people that are full of online entrepreneurs and they don't get the amount of social media shares that we got at the event.
I know why.
Tell me why.
Well, you did a really awesome job when you walked in with the banners of the hashtags. So instantly when I walked into the hotel, not knowing what I was getting myself into, because I didn't really know much about the event before I signed up. I was just like, oh, somebody invited me. I'm like, I'm going. But the minute you walk in to register and you walk into the hotel, there is a banner of hashtags. So she created this banner of all sorts of hashtags. It was on her cover of her binder that she handed everybody. And
I'll just share it with you guys.
That initially set in your head that you wanted that this was a social event. So if you look, this is the binder that we got at BizChicksLive, and these were the hashtags that she used. So initially, when you walk in, she is promoting this on social media because that's what you first see. So my first thought when I walked in, and I thought, wow, that is brilliant. She is basically telling you, let's get social before the event even starts. This is the hashtags that we're using. And I've seen people run events, and I've been at events where there's no instruction or even thought planted in the people that are attending the event to actually promote the event for them. I thought that was brilliant. And I think because you set that tone when you walked in to the event, I think it got people thinking that I'm going to post, I'm going to tag, I'm going to do this. I watched so many people, and because a lot of people did that, and again, the quality of the event that you put on was so superb that it was not hard to not want to rave about it. You know, you were like, wow, my mind's blown, and I'm meeting all these new people and I'm taking pictures with them, and it's so cool. We're connecting, and then we're tagging that person, maybe was a complete stranger to us before we walked into the event. So strategically, you set the tone, and I don't even know if you thought this would happen, but you set the tone before the event even started, and then it just blew up from there. And
it definitely was intentional for people to know the hashtag I wanted to use. So we had this blown up. It was like a double the size of that banner. So it was actually bigger than my like BizChicks Live banner. That was intentional. That is what I wanted people taking a picture in front of. And I even thought about the height of this, like where it would land. I wanted it kind of above people's heads most of the time, this BizChicks Live. And then at the bottom is, you know, at BizChicks Podcast. That's where people can find me. I know this is probably flipped when people, I'm not sure if they can see it mirrored or regular, but yeah, it was intentional because I did want to, like, I don't think I was as like of a mastermind or strategic.
Yeah.
I will like subconsciously make you think social. But I do think it also, something you're saying, which I was actually thinking about today in terms of how we get people to share our content. It's literally about creating great content. Like I created an event that the women, I understood the needs of the women attending, and I think I delivered what they needed. Mm-hmm. And we tried to do things as a team to go above and beyond their expectations. And I think we did that and we succeeded. Mm-hmm. In terms of podcasting or creating content that you want people to share, you literally just have to create great content. It takes a lot to get people to change their behavior on anything. Mm-hmm. But to get someone to watch a new live show, to get someone to listen to a podcast, view your YouTube, you've got to do something that they want to share. I recently found a new podcast I love and I want to share it with people. And it's a news podcast. It's like 10 minutes of news, and it's fair and it's fast. And it's like my kids could be listening and it's okay. And I was thinking, I'm going to post this on my personal Facebook page. I may do that only 2 or 3 times this year. And it's because it's such compelling content that I want everyone to know about it. I don't even know this girl. Like, I don't know her. I just love what she's doing. And I want other people should listen. And that's creating that organic content. And anytime you can figure out what that is, to keep doing more of it.
And I want to share something to piggyback on that. We're in this era where a lot of people, especially if you don't have big advertising budgets, or you maybe have a smaller following or getting started with your following on social media, people are getting frustrated with the lack of exposure or the lack of reach. And I want to encourage you to think more about the value of the content that you're providing. Because typically speaking, the lack of reach and the lack of exposure and the lack of engagement is because we're not creating something that people want to engage with. It's not exciting enough, or and if we're not getting that engagement, then we're not going to get the reach that we want. So not every piece of your content has to be a power pack, but you do have to provide content that people are interested in, and that they're feeling like they're getting to know you and getting value out of their experience and their time with you. Because let's be honest, there's a ton of stuff online these days. If you're not really speaking to your clients or their needs or their wants or their pain points or what they need from you, you're missing an opportunity in a way. And you're probably not going to see the greatest numbers in your reach and your engagement. So be aware of that. Be mindful of that. I'm not saying you have to post 7 days a week of like incredible content that takes up all of your time. I'm just saying, think about that stamp piece, that piece that each week people are going to want to know a little bit more about, and then creating that awareness around your brand. If you do that, you probably won't need to run ads all that often, or you probably won't want to. You'll gain a following that's really engaged in your content. So that's super important. Okay, I have a question for you before we close out, because we're way past what I told you we were going to do.
I'm fine. I actually have until the top of the hour. So
Okay, so what is the one thing that you love about social media that you just think like this is this is why I do this?
I love connecting with people. It's the engagement. Everyone gets so focused on their followers or their likes, and it
Mhm.
literally doesn't matter if people are not engaging with you.
Yes.
So, another place where I'm engaging a lot with people is Instagram right now.
Yeah,
And I think it's a big opportunity because most business owners are the person engaging on their Instagram account.
mhm.
For people that have a multi six figure, seven figure, eight figure business, they are not engaging on Facebook for the most part, right? They're hiring other people to do that for them. But I find that a lot of people are still running their personal their Instagram accounts, even if it's for their business. So like just this morning, I posted this. My daughter gave me this post. I got to share it because I got.
It's so cute.
She says, "I love you more than all the things." Now, does this mean I'm mom of the year? No, but I am mom of the year today, and I'm taking it.
And it's a
Tomorrow,
win.
she's 16. Tomorrow, she's gonna hate me. So I posted it on Instagram, and I'm getting such wonderful engagement with people. And people are, congratulating me, and other people have teenagers. And one mom was like, "I'm having like the worst day ever. I can't imagine. If my kid wrote that post-it note, it would say, 'You're the worst mom of the year.'" And so like we could have a conversation, and I could support her. And
Yeah.
then I love Instagram stories for engaging with people. So right now what I'm doing when people direct message me or engage with me at all on Instagram, I'm thanking them. And then I say, "Are you in my Facebook group? Because I'd love to invite you to join me in there." And 99% of the time they're not. And they're like, "You know what? I've heard you mention on the podcast, but I'm not in there." I
Mhm.
put a link. We have bizchicks.com/join, and they can easily get in there. And they
Yeah.
are, because they now have gotten to know me on Instagram, and I'm trying to move them into my funnel, into the Facebook group, and create that triad of connection, which is my podcast, my Facebook group, and my email list. And Instagram is a part of that. And it's a place that I'm growing, and I love doing stories where I can share little things about, my family, my life. I did
And
pull out.
you're also really good at responding to other people's stories. I know you do that with mine, and I'm like, oh, Natalie saw it. And it just gives
Yes.
that, like, even if you didn't know Natalie or myself, and I respond to your story, like, oh, so cool, sweet, heart, whatever you do, it could be an emoji. It shows that you're interested in somebody else and you're paying
And
attention.
that's the other thing. If you're trying to get on an influencer's radar, comment,
Yeah.
respond to their stories. If you do that consistently, they will know you. I know the people that read all my emails. People, and also another tip is reply back to people's emails
Mm-hmm.
that they from their email newsletter. They get very few responses. You will stand out. I have one community member. We've never worked together. I know her name. I know where she lives. She lives in Scotland. She goes for a walk every Sunday and listens to my podcast. I've never worked with her. I know all about her business.
Yeah.
She's engaging with me everywhere. She's so on my radar. You'll probably hear her on the podcast at some point because I know her. I know her business. I know her expertise. I know her point of view. So I think it's a really great way to connect with influencers right now is by commenting and DMing. You don't want to be a stalker and annoy people, but if something they do resonates with you, say something. If
Yeah.
And also I think if you have clients, like you are my client, you're my friend and my client, right? But I want you to know that I'm seeing your stuff and I want to follow your stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I want to support you and I want to be connected to you. Like I can serve you better in your mastermind the more I know about you.
Right.
So,
And that's the strategy. I mean, like your clients are one of the platform of people you want to be connecting with. And then there's also people that you want to work with that you want to connect with or
exactly.
that you
It's like up, it goes both ways. It's peers, it's influencers ahead of me, and then my clients, right? And then my community.
Yeah. So that's great value added too. And we'll close it out with if you could give a small business owner or someone just getting started that's moving into the next level of business, maybe they're 1 or 2 years in, one piece of advice on how to use social media for their business, what would you say? I think I know what the answer is, but I'll let you answer.
Oh, I wonder.
I think I know.
You really have to know who your ideal client is and where they are and how to best connect with them. So for some of my clients that have more of a corporate focused business, I would tell them, do not spend time on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
You should know LinkedIn in and out. That is where you should be. That is where those people are hanging out. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like the main piece of advice is you really have to first understand who you're targeting and create content that attracts also that client. So a lot of times my clients are trying to attract a high-end client, but they're creating content for a beginner. Mm-hmm. So you will notice on my podcast, I don't teach you how to start a business. I don't have anything about starting a business on my podcast because I want to talk to you once you have a business and I want to help you grow it. Mm-hmm. And so that doesn't mean I'm not attracting brand new business owners. I am. They listen. They don't have a business yet. They're in my community. But I have not taken it on in my business at this point to train people to start a business. I know who my ideal avatar is. There are people that are scaling their business. They have a 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure business. Mm-hmm. And that's who I'm talking to.
And getting those beginners in to start, I mean, again, strategy of creating your funnel is they might not be a client right now, but they're listening to her podcast and eventually they'll probably show up at a live event and they're going to be 2 years into business and they're going to be making money and they're going to be a client of yours. So there's
having that long-term vision. It's really hard when you're starting out because you can't see where this is going to go long-term. Right. I think once especially for us now, in the 4th, 5th year of business, I'm taking a very long-term view. Like people are saying, I can't come to your event in 2018, like 6 months from now, 5 months from now, but I'll be there in November 2019. Mm-hmm. Like people are already planning because they believe, and they're right, that I'm going to be sticking around and that what I'm doing is for the long term. I just had a client, a potential person do a call with me for a mastermind. And she said, I've decided not to start right now. I'm going to join in January. No problem. I'm in this for the long term. If she told me it was a year and a half from now, no problem. Yep. I think having a long-term focus in your business too makes all of this a lot easier, but it's hard at the very beginning.
Yeah. And you have to look down the road. Not everybody is a client right now. It's just the reality of it. Not everybody's going to come to me and be like, hey, I got money to hire you and I want you to do it all. Yeah. But if we consistently stay in front of people, which is exactly what you're doing, and many businesses are out there, when they are ready, they're going to think of us first. And that's really what your presence on social media is all about, is creating that awareness and keeping top of mind with people so that when they are ready to make that investment decision or they're ready to take the next step in their business with the services that you provide, you're the first person that they think of.
Right? Very true. I agree.
Thank you, Natalie, for your time today and all your expertise that you shared. I really appreciate it. I hope there was a lot of value. I saw some comments, but I'm having a hard time going back and forth because I didn't want to break up the sound of everything by having too much on. So we'll be commenting on those comments. And if you have questions,
if anyone has a question, I'm happy to answer. I'll check back a few times.
Yeah. And make sure you check out Natalie on her website, bizchicks.com, the live event. Hopefully we'll see some of the faces there that were on the call today. And of course you can follow her on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. She's everywhere. So thank you so much.
Facebook and Instagram, but pretty much if you DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn, I will respond.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate having you today. Bye.
Bye, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.